I fear that I'm between you and your dinner, and so I'm going to try to run through this quickly. First of all, that was an awful lot of hyperbole there, but thank you. I'll take that because it balances out with some of the other things I get to hear. There is a lot of family here tonight, and it's not just people whose last names are Harvey, but it's people who work at Harvey, who are my business partners, and I just want to thank all of the Harvey family and extended Harvey family for all the kind things that they said. I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to play it back from time to time. So, I'm also very thankful for the sponsorship of our presidents and ex-presidents, Tip McFadden and Norma, and I have to always credit Mike Branda, my good old high school buddy, who introduced me to Tip at a poker game probably 15, 20 years ago. And since then, Michael Miller, Archbishop Miller, Bob Ivany, and his wife, Marianne, who were here a couple of weeks ago and had dinner with Mickey and I, but were drawn away this evening. And of course, Richard and Melinda. And I got an old favorite who's not here anymore, but I wanted to recognize him tonight, and that's Father Patrick Braden. If you knew Father Braden, who I believe was one of the presidents at University of St. Thomas, I knew him in the latter years. Wonderful guy, sat on the board with him and went to committee meetings with him, and always enjoyed watching him ride up on his bicycle, which I believe is now hung in the lobby of the Seaship building, which is the Center for Science and Health Professions. So, thank you. So, in addition to that, there is a lot of people, most all of you out here tonight, who have reached into your checkbook, in some cases because Bob and I came to see you and asked you to do so. But we have many generous and faithful supporters of St. Thomas. Don't give up on us. We still need you, but thank you so much for everything that you've done. And I want to point out that that capital campaign was about 8 years. We raised about $150 million. And I want to thank people. Thank you. I didn't really know anything about that, but I learned it from people like Liz Greist, Dick Denny, and Cynthia Riley, and I want to make sure that I give all of them the credit for that. So I've been doing this for St. Thomas and with St. Thomas for a couple of decades, and I remember a few of the challenges that we had along the way, starting in the early 2000s, when we got a papal encyclical from John Paul II, Pope John Paul II, who's now Saint John Paul II. And it was basically a recipe that said, if you want to be a Catholic institution, you need to do it this way. And my father always got a kick out of talking about Ted Koppel, who was on Nightline, and one night he said, when he was describing something you must do, he said, when Moses came down from the mountain, he didn't bring down the 10 suggestions. And what we got from the Pope was not a suggestion. It was, if you at St. Thomas and all you other Catholic universities want to truly be Catholic, you need to follow this. You must. It was really a mandate. And it was a chance for me to observe the workings of the university and see people who roll their sleeves up and solve problems. And there are so many of them amongst you all. And St. Thomas had to redo their entire curriculum, their core curriculum. They changed it in a way that was a little tougher to graduate, but they made sure that it was in compliance with not only the subjects that needed to be taught, but how it was done. And it was going to be done in accordance with Catholic social teachings and the Catholic intellectual tradition, which is a big deal. And so it took a while. In fact, it was a work in process for almost a decade, getting all the last pieces and parts together on that. But there were a couple of captains, just like everything that gets done at the university. It's never done by just one person. Dominic Aquila was one of them, and Father Joe Pilsner was another. And there were eventually people like Bert Edmondson and Michelle Malloy and other folks who rolled up their sleeves and helped examine everything that we do and how we did it, redid our mission statement. It was a haul. Since then, we've had other challenges, and some of them have found their way into our balance sheet where we've spent more than we had coming in. And that's been difficult because we compete in a community where other people have a different rubric for their tuition, and we have to compete with them. And so we're not always able to get everything we need to cover all of our expenses. And I remember going out as part of the capital campaign, bragging at what a great student faculty ratio we had. It was something like 11 students in one faculty. Turns out that was almost too good because it turned out to be very expensive. And so we had to come back and rework that. And that happened, but it was difficult. It was having to cut back some programs and to get things in balance. And we had some champions once again that helped us with that. And, you know, I want to name and recognize these people, but I get in trouble when I start naming people because I leave some people out. I do know that one of the big successes we had was the School of Nursing. And it is still very successful. It's gone on from a regular nursing program to a master's program to a PhD program, and now even an associate's 2-year program. It's been overwhelmingly successful, and that's in no small part to Ruth Metzger, who insisted that we bring the program back. Her family is here tonight, and the Peavy family, Otis and Carol Peavy, and their family is here tonight. And the Peavy's gave a great financial gift, and Poldy figured out how to make it work. There were probably some people here in the audience tonight who may remember that we raised $15 million for 5 endowed chairs at $3 million apiece to pay for the professors who were going to teach, so that it wouldn't be a burden on the university, because the university was already, you know, a little bit in the red, and we didn't want to put it even further that way. That was one of our great successes. The other one that I can think of is the Mendenhall. I want to call it the Mendenhall Institute. It is, and Trini is here tonight, and I want to make sure I single her out because that has been such a pivotal program. It's for the new guys that come in. In fact, it's really before they're even their freshman year. It's a chance over the summer to get ready for how rigorous college is going to be compared to where they were before. So it gives them a chance to get a running start. And those students have excelled so well that they often graduate in the top half of the class. So it's been more than just a catch-up program. It's been a super successful program, as the School of Nursing has been. And we brought in NCAA sports. And God bless Todd Smith, wherever he is out there, for being our director of that. We are in a probation period at this point, which we'll soon be out of, and a full-time member of a Division III NCAA program. So beyond that, and really maybe one of the products of rethinking our core curriculum and the mandate that we got from the Pope that was called Ex Corde Ecclesias, at the heart of the church. And it turns out that we were able to reacquaint ourselves with our core values, which tend to be goodness, knowledge, community, and discipline. Thank you. And discipline. I knew I'd get stuck on that. And community was actually added later. And thank God it was added later, because it turns out we have some really great community programs. And we have some students out there who belong at St. Thomas, and we want to find a way to support them. And what we have is Kelp Care, and we have something called Rising Stars. And that program allows us to find students, seniors in high school, who can succeed at St. Thomas, but they need some financial help. And it is a work-study program modeled pretty much after Cristo Rey. And so the students work at a sponsor's company, and they develop a relationship. And we hope that as we see that mature in 3 or 4 years, that they end up going to work at that company who sponsored them. And so we know it can work. We've seen it elsewhere. And we've got a great start at St. Thomas. And if you have a business and you want a student that you don't want to have to spend money on recruiting, and someone who knows the values of your company and the insides of it, give that a thought, because there's nothing better than having a St. Thomas student at your office as an intern. We're going to have one in ours, and I think it's a great gift to your company, but also a great gift to these students. With that, I would like to recognize we have some students in the audience tonight, and if you all, there's about 40 or so of you, I believe, if you all don't mind standing up at this point, we would like to recognize you. Thank you. These students are the product of a St. Thomas education. I think it's the finest education that money can buy. There's been a lot of talk and debates about public education, and I think that knowledge that's passed down to these students is super. I think it also helps us comply with the idea of doing something for the community. And as I wrap up, I want to remind you, if you went to the commencement, if you didn't, I want to share with you some words from Bishop Barron, because his advice to the students, which is also applicable to all of us, he said life is about others. And he actually warned us all, don't be boring. And what he meant was, don't be self-focused. He said, ships are in safe harbor, but they are meant to be in the open sea. And that is to take a risk from time to time, to care for those on the margins of society, and to become something called a great soul. And he got that term from St. Thomas Aquinas. That's our St. Thomas, being a great soul. He cautioned us not to settle for mediocrity, which I've heard my partner Joe Cleary say many, many times. And so finally, as I wrap up, one note before I finish, which is tomorrow is Sunday, and it's the Cardinal's birthday. So would you please join me in wishing the Cardinal happy birthday? So I rarely speak to crowds without working in some Espanol, so I'm going to try to do that. And I want to quote our favorite Spanish missionary, Saint Junipero Serra, who said, "Siempre adelante, nunca hacia atrás," which simply means always forward, never back. Thank you.